Hello, my name is Andrea Paratto, and I am a certified dementia practitioner, and I'm here with Natalie Hanson, who is also a certified dementia practitioner. And Natalie and I thought it would be very important for us to discuss the different stages associated with Alzheimer's disease and dementia, because there is so much happening within each stage. So now we can move on to a stage 5. So things are really starting to change here. So I think that there's significant changes when you go from a stage 4 to a stage 5. Would you agree? You can almost watch that transition happen.
Oh, yeah.
And we've seen it. And it's interesting because I think that sometimes getting them to accomplish those care tasks becomes a little bit easier. Not because they can do it better, but because they're just a little bit more malleable. They're not fighting against you so hard because they can do it themselves. They're not in that super duper independent stage anymore where they're wanting to be really independent. They're more just grateful that you're willing to help them get through this task. So I think that they're not as rigid and hard anymore, right? They're just a little bit more softer, a little bit more malleable. But the memory the memory deficits are way more significant and way more prominent. And when they reach this stage, their ability to understand and process the world around them is around a 3-year-old or an 18-month-old to a 3-year-old. So we're really coming down as well as far as how I can understand and process things. So I think you should explain this stage, because I feel like you're an expert when it comes to stage 5. You do really work well with this.
Thank you. They're caught in the moment, focused on sensation of the experience. They're kind of stuck
in the moment.
And trying to get them to do something or get care completed sometimes just may not work because they are completely stuck in the moment. I remember working with someone who was insisting on needing to go outside, and that's all they wanted to do was go outside, and trying to kind of turn them around, redirect them and get them out, into doing something else just wasn't going to work because they were stuck in that moment, that insistent of, I need to get outside.
Basically what you're saying is they didn't care about 5 minutes from now, and they didn't care about 5 minutes ago. What they care about is what is happening right here, right now, in this moment.
Right. And so what you can do to help them in that moment is go with the flow. Let's go outside and take a walk.
What?
It really kind of, it brings that stress down for both of you.
True. Because exercise is a stress helper.
Exactly. And, forget about what you wanted to accomplish in that moment, because it wasn't going to happen no matter what.
Probably not.
So going out for that walk, getting them taking away that stress for them, and you getting a little bit of exercise takes away that little bit of stress for you. And it turns out to be a really nice time. Then you can come back inside, reapproach, or have somebody else approach them. They have limited safety awareness and don't understand much of the why behind, what you do or are trying to get him or her to do or not do.
Oh, so if I say, come on, it's time to take a shower, they don't understand why they need a shower or why I'm trying to get them into this little box that shoots water out. Right? I mean, it's confusing. I would imagine it's got to be very confusing.
Yeah. They have no ability to delay or wait. You think of that 18 months to 3-year-old.
Oh, sitting them at the kitchen table and saying, I'll be right back. Dinner will be done in 5 minutes. You come back and
that's not going to work.
They're gone.
They're gone.
They're gone.
That's totally not going to work. So you need to respond to them ASAP. Sometimes for safety reasons, and sometimes just it's a great opportunity to engage. They are ready to engage in that moment. Take that opportunity.
So with the dinner scenario, if you're going to get dinner ready for somebody who might be in this stage where there's no delay or waiting, wait to sit them down till you have the plate at the table, because when they sit down, they're going to see, oh, it's time to eat.
Yeah.
And it's right there and it's instant. And so you're meeting them ASAP, like you said, and then you can engage because now you have their attention.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really good point.
They may not know who you are to them relationship wise, but they will frequently know whether they like you or not. I always say, it's not just about recognizing the person as far as, who they are to you, but there's that feeling that you give them.
So
it can be that smell, that feeling, that
makes sense.
That love.
So it's like, I don't know that your name's Natalie, but
I know that I like you.
I know that I know your tone of voice. Yes. And when you talk to me, I just like the way you talk to me. So I recognize that. That's what you're saying?
Yeah. You make me feel good. You make me feel loved. I just recognize you as somebody that is good for me.
That makes sense. I like that. That's interesting.
Yeah.
It's nice to know that they still have that ability.
Yeah.
To recognize and understand that feeling of being loved.
And they also tend to, they don't understand personal space.
Oh, yes. They like to
be right there.
Yes.
They may take things, damage things, act in a childlike way, or have easily hurt feelings or sensibilities.
Yes, just those emotions get elevated, and they can really go skyrocketing.
They see objects and items, but don't always remember what they are or how to use them. They may pick up a hairbrush, but not realize that I need to use it to brush my hair.
Toothbrush. I've seen
same.
A toothbrush being used as a hairbrush.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense. Utensils. They'll use. I've seen them use butter knives to unlock doors. So yes, I can see where objects, they might not know what to do with the object, as it's intentionally supposed to be used. So they'll use objects in the wrong manner and could actually hurt themselves because, like you said earlier, they don't have a safety awareness.
Right.
Right. I mean, back in the stage 4, they didn't have safety awareness. So I can imagine when we get to stage 5, it's really compromised, right? That I'm just going outside and I'm walking and it doesn't matter if there's traffic because I don't understand anyways.
I don't understand what that car could do to me if I
exactly right. So that safety awareness is really compromised.
And when engaging with them, doing an activity or something with them, simple sorting or manipulative tasks may seem too easy, but they like easy. Easy gives them a sense of accomplishment, and when you can accomplish something in such a strange world that they're in, then it boosts that inner feeling of, yes, I did that.
Yeah, that confidence. I can actually feel confident.
Yeah.
Like matching socks.
Yes.
Folding laundry.
Something that can be just the simplest of tasks gives them so much confidence.
Helping to load the dishwasher instead of actually washing the dishes, which, could become complicated or too much at once. Just loading the dishwasher and just being able to put dishes in there, no matter how they do it. You can always go back and fix how the dishes are put in the dishwasher if it's not quite how you wanted it. But at least giving them that purpose, that sense of fulfillment that they did something.
Right.
I think that's important for every human to feel that sense of purpose and fulfillment. But I think it's really important for somebody who has Alzheimer's and dementia to feel that they had some kind of fulfillment and purpose in their life, because just because we have a disease doesn't mean
life stops.
Life stops. It's just done. It's not what it means. There is life after Alzheimer's and dementia, and a lot of it is giving them that purpose and fulfillment,
right?
That feeling of accomplishment, like you said. There are some interesting things about the physical aspects of what's going on versus just the cognitive aspects, because I noticed working with Alzheimer's and dementia, when we get to this stage, not saying that completing care routines is hard, but it's not easy. It's hard for them to understand the why you said behind it, but then there's other things going on physically.
Yeah, certain parts of their bodies become more sensitive. So like the lips, tongue, mouth area, the palms of the hands and fingertips, soles of the feet. And so then it makes doing some care on personal care routines on them a little bit more difficult, because it's that hypersensitivity that they have to.
So I just imagine trimming fingernails.
Oh, yeah.
And that's hard.
It's very hard.
They're very sensitive on the tips of their fingers.
Yeah.
And getting their toenails taken care of.
Even washing their hands sometimes, because that palm of the hand gets so sensitive that it's not always a pleasant experience for them, because it's expanded.
And so they don't always tolerate personal care routines that we know are essential. We know they need to take a shower. We know they need to use the toilet, but they're not always agreeable because of those sensitive areas. And they may actually cause them to act out.
Yeah. Well, and then because of the hypersensitivity in those select areas, they're not aware of other parts of their body, which means that they do not always feel what is wrong, such as pain or discomfort. Because you have such hypersensitivity in the other areas that the pain or discomfort, they're not always feeling, they're not always aware of it. And so you want to watch their body language to try to determine what their need may be.
So like if I'm holding my side, or maybe I'm favoring my leg when I'm walking, or facial grimacing.
Yeah.
Even going so far as to knitting my eyebrows together and, showing that something's going on can be ideal ways to actually notice if they're having pain.
Right.
I think that this is the stage where incontinence really starts to happen.
Yeah, they
right?
get more incontinent at this stage. They may not recognize the importance of eating or drinking. It kind of becomes
not as important.
Not as important to
them. Or
them.
They forget.
Yeah,
what time
or they think they've already eaten. And so it's like because they don't recognize the hunger pains if they have them, or they don't recognize that they're hungry, and so that'll kind of go to the wayside.
On the other end of that, I have had Alzheimer's and dementia clients that never stopped eating.
Because yes,
I think that the brain stops sending the signal of being full, and you couldn't give them enough. And I mean, sometimes that's a good problem to have, because they're eating, and they're not losing a lot of weight and wasting away.
Right.
But at the same time, they could gain a lot of weight, and that could also be unhealthy. So you really want to pay attention to how often they're eating or how much they're eating. I think that is really important.
And prompt them to eat and drink. And it kind of goes back to you can sit down with them, have a meal with them, try to prompt them to eat that way. And if they say they're not hungry, it's come sit with me while I eat. Have a plate of food in front of them. And a lot of times, I know if a plate of food is in front of me and I'm not hungry, I still pick at it.
Or sometimes because they always love their sweets. I don't know what it is. They love them sweets. Maybe offer dessert first.
The sweet is one of the last sensations to go.
There you go. And so you offer maybe some cake and coffee while we're eating, and also have that other plate of food there, because sometimes that stimulates that appetite. With those sweets. And then before you know it, they've cleared their plate and they've eaten dessert as well as the main entree. So that's awesome.
And I always say, when it comes to the eating and stuff, if they want to eat dessert first, by golly, let them eat dessert first. Who cares?
Right. At this point,
we're getting the food in them.
Right. We're just happy they're eating something. And it might actually stimulate that appetite to want to eat more. Yeah. You never know. They love ice cream.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I love ice cream.
Me too.
So I hope I continue to love ice cream. So there is a really easy way to assist them at this stage.
The word to remember is simplify.
Simplify my life.
Simplify the world, simplify their tasks, simplify your expectations. Your expectations aren't going to be what they were in the previous stages.
No, not at all.
Just simplify everything. If you make it as simple as possible, you want to offer them cues, exaggerate your visual responses, use more automatic social greetings like hello, how are you, instead of just be like, hey, what's up?
Right, because they might not actually recognize that.
Right.
Because if they're back in these younger years, what's up didn't really appear until maybe later on,
right.
and generationally wise. So using greetings that they're not familiar with might actually be confusing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with the automatic greetings. And I think I've been successful, using behaviors to guide my response. So if they seem like they're happy and they're in a really good mood, sometimes using humor can help get through those tasks easier. singing and dancing and that sort of thing, and just bringing like a lot of happiness if they're in that happy mood. If they're frustrated, I'm going to, stay calm and just talk to them in a pleasant voice and validate why they're frustrated and listen and kind of pay attention to that body language of what's going on why they may be frustrated. But I think that understanding their feelings is going to go a long way in how you can respond in the most successful way when it comes to completing tasks. Limiting that verbal information and instructions is always helpful. But keep your, be prepared for those sensory needs, right? Those tolerance issues. There are some things that your loved one will not be able to tolerate anymore. And it likely will be due to over sensory, right? I'm taking in too much. It's so overwhelming. So there's going to be a lot of overwhelming sensories. So keep your visits short, because the longer the visit, the more confused they become, a lot more memory conflicts. And it's always better to have 5 really good minutes
than 15 bad.
Yeah. Always.
You'll learn to recognize those visual cues from them too when it starts
to get too much.
Enough.
Yes. And verbal cues.
Yes.
I think that they let you know verbally as well, a little bit, by either making comments or asking questions. I think that children also can be very overwhelming when there's a lot of kids and there's a lot of talk, and they're all, they're kids. They have high energy. They're running around. They're yelling. They're talking. And whatnot. And so having a lot of children around them for a long period of time can be very sensory overload. And so maybe limit the amount of children and I would say maybe 1 to 2 hours at the most, to limit that anxiety and that frustration that might happen with so much sensory overload.
And that brings up a good point we didn't really talk about is noise.
Sensory overload with noise. And this stage, I think you're right. It really hits hard.
It really does. You're sitting having a conversation and you've got music going on and you've got noise from outside and stuff. It can be a lot. So you might want to limit the amount of noise that you have going on.
I think there's also sometimes when it's hard to differentiate what voice is what.
Yeah.
And so you have like the TV's on, like you said, and then you have people, the neighbors working out in the yard, and you can hear them talking, and it's just like this disembodied voice, and you don't know where it's coming from. And so this is where that little bit of that paranoia starts to come in, and that anxiety and that feeling of being unsafe or unsure, because you don't know who's talking to you or where they are. And you can't find them.
Right.
And there's not a person standing in front of you talking. So a lot of noise, a lot of increased lighting, bright lighting can be very distressful, I think. And sometimes, that lower lighting, and that softer music that's not a lot of words, but more of like a classical or big band, from their era might actually help reduce some of that stress as well.
Yeah. Be aware of the environment.
Environment is key. And always be aware that you are part of their environment.
True.
So when you're really loud, like I tend to be, or, you're making a bunch of noise in their house, say you came over to fix something, if say your spouse comes over to fix mom and dad's cupboards or something in the kitchen, if one of them have dementia or Alzheimer's and they're kind of farther away in their stages, take them out. Take them outside, away from so much loud noise and the banging of the hammering and that sort of thing, because it can be very sensory overload.
Yeah.
Too much coming in at once, and I can't process it and separate it and make sense of it. So I think that's huge.